So, fixing a bad relic job. I have noticed since relics have become a really popular deal that I've come across a ton of guitars where people have thought to themselves, I'll just do my own relic at home. And they do a really rough job. It doesn't come out quite like those ones from the factory. So this is the case with this one. And if you look at some of the relic work they did, it's very rough, and that doesn't really look like a relic guitar, because when things relic over time, they tend to wear and become very smooth and shiny and glass. So I've already worked on one spot. This is kind of the armrest area, and this used to look like those other spots, and now you can see it's got a little bit more of a shiny look. You can kind of see how the finish kind of feathers or fades here, as opposed to that kind of real drastic look. What you're going to want to kind of smooth out some of those spots is a lot of different grits of sandpaper, and you can see I've got a variety here, but what it basically takes is trying to get rid of some of that obvious sanding. And so you want to start with the highest grit you can, so you're not taking away too much more finish, but just high enough where it starts to smooth out some of those scratches. So I'll probably start with 320 or 400 here, and I'm going to wet sand, which means I'll use either WD-40 or Windex, or even just water if you don't have one of those, and just keep the surface wet as you sand, and that allows it to kind of more gradually wear away some of those scratches. It'll just make it look smoother and nicer. And you want to just go through the grit, so when you think you've found the right place to start, whether that's 400 or 600, whatever it takes to start smoothing that out, then you'll go to the next highest grit. So you might go 400 to 600 up to 800, and you want to really go through the grits, you know, go to 1,000. I go to 1,500, 2,000, and even higher. You want to get yourself some kind of little piece of sponge or styrofoam or something soft like that to use as your sanding block. So something that's a little flexible and soft. Just go around that area. You can see it's wet with WD-40, and try and get rid of some of that scratching and smooth out what they've done here. And what you have to do periodically is just wipe away what you're using for a lubricant, so you can see what it looks like, and try and stay just on the areas that have already been affected. And you don't have to press real hard while you're doing this, unless you've got some real deep scratches they put in there. So this is just about as far as I'm going to take this one. And I took it through all the different grits of sandpaper, all the way up to about 12,000. And then after that, what you might want to do as a final thing, it'll make it blend even better, is to get some different types of rubbing compound and wax. So first I hit it with this 3M machine polish, which is kind of a little rougher polish as a first step. And then I went to like a car wax, which is like a McGuire's, which is pretty much just a polish. And then had one like final step, which was like just a guitar polish. But again, you're going from the roughest to the finest. That's a lot better looking kind of mark than these kind. So just remember, go through many grits of sandpaper. I suggest wet sand, and then polish at the end. When you're going through all these different grits of sandpaper, there's one type of sandpaper I found when you get to the high grits that's kind of expensive, but it works pretty darn well, and it's called like 3M Automotive. I think it's, what does it say, Trizact, and it's a little different. It's got like a flexible backing to it, and you can see it looks different. It's kind of like a sponge type sandpaper, and I use the 3000 and the 5000 grit in this stuff. Really does a good job kind of blending at the end and kind of just smoothing everything out. It's also, because it's a flexible material, pretty easy to work with. It tends to last longer than paper-backed sandpaper, obviously, because it's just more durable. Yeah, so here's a piece that somebody else treated, just kind of left rough, and then here's a piece after I've kind of smoothed it out that you might want to try if you do a lot of polishing guitars. You can get a pretty cheap set of these sponges that go with your drill, and wipe it off. This is like a Amazon item, you know. You can get just a bag of sponges and the other attachment that the sponge is attached to for a pretty good price.